Stay tuned, stay tuned, stay tuned. I'm here with the coach, John Brent.
And I'm here with the vet, Ian Griffin.
And we are in the motor pool at the Talk.
Yes, we are in the garage at the Talk.
Yes, it's nice, climate controlled, as all garages should be. And we're having a good time, enjoying the fact there's no loud noises and not doing any knuckle busting today. So, Coach, today is our 46th podcast.
Wow, that's unbelievable.
Can you?
No.
July 28th, we started out this venture.
July.
And we've
done 46.
And we've done 46.
A lot has happened since July, but there's a whole lot more that's happened since January the 1st.
This will be our last podcast for 2020 right here.
Okay.
So I think we need to do a year in review.
Okay. Year in review 2020. What a year this has been. Unbelievable.
So there's a lot of things that happened. And, man, I got like 8 pages of all this stuff. And it's only like some of it I want to hit. So you want me to start out or you want to start out?
Go ahead, throw something out there.
I'm going to start out that we had celebrity deaths.
No.
We had non-celebrity people who influenced that died that caused movements. And then we have people, to me, that to our listeners are probably more important than anything is the ones that were in our families that died that really affect our day-to-day lives, to be honest.
Sure.
And some of the celebrity deaths that I got, though, is to me was Sean Connery, Kenny Rogers, Eddie Van Halen.
Eddie Van Halen. Wow,
those are just huge. You know the drummer for Quiet Riot and Wasp, Frankie Banali died. Kobe Bryant, which it wasn't just Kobe Bryant. It was Kobe Bryant. It was his daughter. There were 7 other people who all their families just, you know.
That was one of those days it was just like it wasn't real. I remember for a day or two, it was like it just didn't feel real. Kind of like, you know, every so often you'll have that with you know, a celebrity death where it just doesn't feel.
I'm sad that he died, but my gosh, his daughter was 13 years old, and there was some family. There was parents that their family and their kids, and that's just tragic. I mean, all of them are.
We all feel invincible from time to time, and I think when someone like that passed away young, and it's like it just doesn't seem real.
And I will say, Alex Trebek, you know, most time when you have pancreatic cancer, the chance of surviving is slim, and we kind of got to see the stages with him a little bit. And you had Charlie Pride, you know.
Just recently.
Yeah, just recently. Kiss Angel, Good Morning. Man, I'll always remember that song. And so those are some celebrities, and I think that really most people can relate to them or recognize them in some shape or form or fashion. I personally think Eddie Van Halen, just what he contributed to the music industry alone, might not ever be repeated again. Just
no. And from a guitar standpoint, you know, I play guitar. I mean, after Hendrix died, there was a few that kind of had to carry it on, and he was one of them. Steve Ray Vaughan, you got Eddie Van Halen, a few others. But Eddie Van Halen there was that sound of the 70s and the 80s that was absolutely crazy with Van Halen. That it's just nuts that he's gone. A
musician that couldn't read music.
Yeah.
That did it all by ear and memory.
Yeah.
That's insane when you think about it. So those are kind of some of the things that are the celebrity things that are, we're just sad that happened in 2020. And then you have non-celebrities, which really caused movements, which probably rightfully so, which was George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Vanessa Guillen down in Fort Hood, Texas.
Right.
And all 3 of those, and there's more. And,
Ahmaud Arbery.
Yes.
We talked about that.
Yes, sir. And all of those really sparked a sense of desire to promote change in how things are done.
Right. Change, equality, injustice, words that were used a lot in 2020. A lot of times people felt out of sorts with, you don't understand my plight. We're trying to understand your plight.
Yes.
But there was the injustices. Even if they weren't true, I think sometime in 2020 we had to learn that understanding other people's injustices and plots, even if we don't feel them as myself as a white guy in America, maybe I don't feel the same way as someone else with a different color. I think that really was a big part of 2020.
So I agree, and I don't think that those names or the movement that came after will be forgotten anytime soon, to be quite honest.
No.
And hopefully we get some good out of it because of those. So some of the things that I got here, Coach, I'll start off with January 3rd. You know, we did a drone strike on our Iranian general,
Yeah.
Soleimani, which kind of a unique time in our history that when we have a military action that's actually for the good of the people in that area and soldiers and sailors and Marines and everybody that's down there. It's one of the few times that we had half of political parties throw outrage about it, and you're just like, what the flip, man?
Yeah.
So that's probably the first thing, and then, you know, shortly after that, we had to walk down the halls in a very orchestrated manner and sign some things with some very expensive pens and evoke articles of impeachment.
$1,000 pens, man.
Yeah, $1,000 pens.
Hey, if I had some $1,000 pens, I'd sell them for about 600 each.
Me too. I mean, sell them quick, you know. But that was all ego-based. I mean, at the end of the day, it was just insane.
A lot of hatred between some parties and people going on early in the year.
Yeah. So I think that kind of starts it out. Tell me what you got, Coach.
Well, one of the persons that I as a history teacher and loves government, loves our country, and studied the Supreme Court for a number of years, Ruth Bader Ginsburg dying was huge.
Yes.
It was huge because when I voted for Trump the first time, it was I didn't know if I wanted to vote when he was going against Hillary. It was just like, who am I going to vote for? But after having some conversations, actually with my brother and some other people, I'm thinking he's at least going to get one that the person would get elected, would get one on the Supreme Court, possibly a second, but never in a million years I think you get three. And when she passed away, I knew it was going to be crazy because she was the left of the left for the left.
Yeah.
And I know that someone like my sister that's a liberal person, Ruth Bader Ginsburg to her was someone that she looked up to. Mm-hmm. And I remember something that, it's not to make fun of her and I wouldn't, but I think if I remember on Facebook, she posted that she couldn't even talk about it because she knew that Trump was going to get that replacement. It was going to be a conservative and it was going to be almost like a slap in the face, but that was huge. That's a huge difference for the court, having someone that progressive, knowing you're going to get someone that conservative to replace him.
Yeah, and I'll take all the heraldry out of it that everybody wants to give her honor and everything else, and with Ruth Bader Ginsburg, but let's be honest, she was probably one of the most outspoken justices we've had. Well, we expect our justices to be silent. I mean, we expect them to execute off their paper in the Supreme Court. We expect them to be non-political, non-diva, as she liked to say she would, you know, and all those other things. Yeah. And she was dramatically different than that. And I'm not here to knock her on it. I'm just saying that she was not the normal person that you saw in the Supreme Court. We see people in robes that don't say nothing. They all sit up there when the State of the Union goes on. They don't. She goes there and she goes to sleep. The rest of them go there and they pay attention. You know.
Right.
So it is what it is. And so anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, that was one thing early on. And then talking about disrespect, the impeachment was, to me, was just ridiculous.
Yes.
But to have the vote coming down that he was impeached in January, then we had the Senate was going to acquit him the same week that they were going to have the State of the Union. So that was a crazy political week.
So you have the State of the Union on February 4th, and you have the Senate acquit on the February 5th. Yeah. And then not only that, because we wanted to act like we had power, yes. But before we had that was, well, I let him do the State of the Union address in the Congress.
Right.
Because I'm Nancy and I hold all the power. Let me put my queen aspect on. Yeah. And that's what she did. She goes, I am going to act an ass and sit there and go, I don't know if I allow him to do that.
And rip up the speech.
And then she ripped up the speech in a very orchestrated way to churn her base.
And that sets the stage for, at that point in time right there, I believe the odds were way high that President Trump, because of the economy and what was going on in the country, was going to be reelected no problem.
Yeah, he would have been.
But then the Wuhan Chinese folks came in.
Well, before that, I got to give some hats off to you, is your Chiefs won the Super Bowl right before that.
Chiefs, hometown.
Yeah.
White
hometown
House
boy.
native, Mahomes.
Yeah, they won. And so afterward, the virus has been out for a little bit, but on February 11th, the World Health Organization named it from the coronavirus to the COVID-19 is what they did. And so you have that, and then on the end of the month, February 29th, which was my last official day in the Army, February 29th was the first corona death in the United States.
Yeah.
And then things changed dramatically.
Absolutely.
And then we have on March 13th, the president declares coronavirus a national emergency.
Right.
And it's the same time that Breonna Taylor was shot as
Yeah,
well.
that was a terrible time. I think that was the beginning of this year going to hell in a handbasket.
I agree.
I mean, it was all
soon
that.
as March came through, and right before that, you had 25 people die around the Nashville area for tornadoes.
Right.
And but I agree. Then shortly after that, the NCAA canceled female
And that
male
blew me
basketball.
away. That blew me away. The NCAA would do that at the time.
And then you had the Olympics came out, and so they suspended to 2021 for the Summer Olympics.
Unbelievable.
And then for once, for a little bit of time, Congress got together and they passed the Corona relief bill.
Which was
Although
thrown out for the second one.
they wanted to make, the Democrats wanted to make airlines, they wanted to put in there that airlines not use fossil fuels or some crap like that.
Isn't that ridiculous?
I mean, they want to trickle
In a
that in.
pandemic.
Yeah, in a pandemic. But March 27th, we passed that, and then we got the first check somewhere in April. So that's the start of it. But I agree with you, Coach. That is the trickle-down effect. That's when the decline went. And I do think this, and they may deny it or not, but we all know how politicians are. I think, we know they admitted to it because some of them said, keep losing your job so we can win the election. You know,
Yeah.
some of them even said that. AOC, I won't mention your name, but the bartender, she said it. And it's okay for you to stay out of job as long as you win the election. And some of them, maximize it for strategic effect. And then there's some that it was for real effect. It's really happening out there, and our leaders didn't pay attention to it.
Sure, and I mean, I hope that I remember correctly, but I believe it was George Stephanopoulos said years ago, never let a good crisis go to waste.
Yeah.
And I believe the Democrats started doing this about coronavirus time.
Yeah, that was the mantra of the Democratic Party. And there was some, actually, as they were passing the bill, as they were getting ready to pass the bill, that was some of them like, hey, maybe we shouldn't pass this bill because we'll give him what he wants. And that's what, and then kind of Nancy kind of pulled everybody in. We'll give him what he wants this once, and then we ain't giving him what he wants ever
Right.
again. And
That's
we still have time.
Right.
Yeah. So,
man, this is crazy.
It
To start
is.
remembering all this is, wow.
so some of the things the U.S. pulled out of the World Health Organization, which people say, well, why would we do that? Kind of like the Paris Climate, because we put most of the money in, and we're not the ones that violators.
Right.
Like the Paris Climate one is third world countries the violators, but we're paying the biggest price, so why not? The draft was held remotely.
That was different.
Yes.
I mean, some of these things that started happening from, Zoom meetings and
Yeah.
remote, like I was in school at the time and we couldn't go to school. We couldn't go on campus for our school for months. We were taking stuff up. My daughter was doing everything. They were doing remote learning and
Yep.
Zoom meetings. It was just kind of like, this is so weird going on. And then I remember around my mom's birthday, and I'm sure you have the date, that video comes out of the Aubrey being chased down and shot.
Yeah. So on May 5th, the video is leaked.
Yeah.
Now I don't like how it's put. It's leaked. I don't know why the video couldn't be out to begin with, unless
Right.
it incriminated some people. Which, I don't have a problem with that either, as long as we're going after who it incriminates.
But see, we had Breonna Taylor, then we had that.
Then we had that, and then
And that's going to set up the craziness of about 3 or 4 weeks later.
Yeah, so May 5th, the video came out. And then during May, the world passed 300,000 deaths in the coronavirus. Unemployment rate in America was 14.7 after in January it was hardly anything.
Right.
And then May 25th hit, and George Floyd is killed in Minneapolis.
And that set a lot of things in motion that I believe
did.
it was the second part of Trump's
Yeah.
downfall. It had nothing to do with Trump, but the response that came from it, from
Yeah.
the left and from young people of all colors, really put almost, you had to pick a side type feeling was going on. And your side that you picked, if you liked President Trump, then you were kind of like this old way of being almost racist in thinking.
Yeah.
And if you didn't, you were this new progressive thinking that all this stuff needs to be changed and everything needs to be about Black Lives Matter. It was just a huge
It was a huge mess. I mean,
yeah.
and normally you tend to think on certain things that conservative businesses and such, they hit every business there was. Even CNN, I was so shocked on that. It received damage, and I was like, "Welcome to the club, boys. This has been going on for years."
Got hit, huh?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and but me personally, I fully comprehend and understand the issues that happened with George Floyd.
Sure.
What I do not ever understand is why is it acceptable, or what is the positive thing that's coming out of burning half a city block down and burning people's personal businesses down and looting and things of that nature. I've never understood that, and that's just not me.
The First Amendment gives you the right to peaceful protest, and once
Yep.
you go past that, it's criminal.
I think we covered that in the podcast.
We sure did, and it's the truth. People
Yeah.
say, well, they weren't hearing us when we were peacefully doing it all these years or decades or whatever. No, we were hearing you.
Yeah.
Things had gotten different, maybe even gotten better, but when this thing, now I didn't know a person, black, white, Mexican, green, purple, whatever, that thought what happened to George Floyd was okay.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Same thing that happened to Aubrey. Nobody thought it was okay.
Yes, it's tragic.
So I believe just that movement, that anger that was coming from the divide in our country that started under Obama, it got so much worse under Trump, and looked like he was going to be reelected again, and people were losing their mind, and then the pandemic hits and all these bad things. It's just rolling down the hill.
Well, I think that we say this in the Army is when people have nothing to do because the pandemic kept us nothing to do.
Exactly.
Bad things come out because they sit there and just fester and brew. And just think about this. George Floyd happened in Minneapolis, okay? Mm-hmm. And protests went all over across the world, even went in Berlin and things of that nature. But I do not understand how you're doing anything positive of tearing something down in Atlanta, Georgia, the CNN Center that represents George Floyd. This is me. That's just my thoughts on it. But we moved on, and even June 1st, the president came out and held the Bible on Lafayette Square, and people made a ruckus all about that. But I do know those same people, if it had been a previous president, would have kissed the ground he walked on for doing it. But just because it was him, they didn't, and let's call it what it is. Let's don't lie about it. That's exactly the fact. And so anyway.
And I see something on your list. June 9th, COPS is canceled. After 31 years, COPS is canceled. I still to this day don't get that.
I don't either. But I want to back up one on June 7th. Demonstrators pulled down the statue of a 17th century slaver, Edwin Colston, in England, and threw it in the harbor. Okay. I don't have a problem if we go amongst a town legislative committee or something like that and we vote on it and say, no more funding for this and let's take this down. I agree with that. If that's what we're going to do, then let's do it. But let's do it in a
peaceful.
Let me see if I can say it. Let's do it in a non-tribal fashion. Let's do it in a society that is gotten past adding 1 + 1 and things of that nature. And instead of doing it into a purge society like that, like the movie The Purge.
Sure.
And did his statue need to come down? Probably so, to be honest. I don't doubt that. It just didn't need to be a riot or chaos or anything like that. And I agree with you. The cops. I know many people watch Cops, and it's just kind of interesting. Is okay, that's our answer to fix everything.
So the police are the problem for everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
At this time, it was. So
yeah,
at this time, in our country in summer, everything was about the police were doing things wrong. Even though I know a lot of police officers, and they're far from that. So later, moving along, June 18th came around, and Supreme Court ruled that DACA was a good program. It can stay. And then you had some Whole Foods workers sent home for wearing Black Lives Matter mask. And so you got this whole paradox. Mm-hmm. Either you can wear the mask if it's only Black Lives Matter and you get exempted because it's them, but you can't wear all these other masks because it didn't meet the social media criteria. Right. But you can wear these because it's okay.
Do you remember the first time you went out in public and saw people wearing masks?
Yeah, no, I remember when it came out, but I don't really.
I remember this feeling I had, and I went to Walmart, and to be honest with you, there was 2 Asian ladies that had the mask on, and I just saw a documentary on Wuhan.
Yeah.
Like a very early one, not a full documentary, but it was about a 15-minute. And I thought, there's no way this is going to go in America. We're not going to do this. And then I saw that in Walmart, and I thought, what are y'all doing? And then within a week, they were popping up everywhere.
Yeah, and as we've learned in America, we'll do whatever we're told. I mean, so
Exactly.
whatever the media tells us, we'll do it. And, and just to throw out the mask, and I'm going to quote somebody you and I both know, the N95 mask was built for tuberculosis bacteria, and which is a large particle, where the coronavirus is a small particle. But I ain't going to say nothing bad about it. I mean, those mask makers are making a killing. And you know what? And I do believe that it slows it down, but I know people who are in the medical profession, several of them, they've been wearing a mask the whole time and got the coronavirus. So you tell me how the mask didn't do it. I mean, I don't know. So, so is it a wool over eyes? Is it a comfort thing? Let's face the fact on one thing. At first, why did we not say everybody wear a mask? Let's call it what it is. Because we didn't have enough of them.
Right.
It's the real deal, is we didn't have enough of them. And if you think, we would have all waited our turn, bullshit. Go look at the damn lines going to get toilet paper, okay? We learned our lesson. When we think we're going to run out of toilet paper, everybody goes crazy. That was the deal with the mask, is we had to kind of slow it, let the medical professionals get their mask first, because they're treating it every day, And to be honest, if you really wanted to, about masks, are the cloth ones okay? Do you wash them all the time? Really, you should probably dispose of them every day. I'm just throwing it out there. But anyway, that's just Ian Griffin.
The masks that I've seen in the last couple of months, getting close to the end of the year, are becoming just a fashion mask.
Yes.
They have, anything on them. They look very thin. Some of them, you just pull them up and you can see through them.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's a guy, I'm sorry, where I at the prison, he made his own. And when he was telling one of his cellmates that was in there, was saying, when he coughs, I can see stuff coming through it.
Yeah. So, do not misunderstand me. I think the masks do help slow it down, okay?
Or is social distancing, or is it both?
But it's not the one-all cure-all. It's not the magic pill that goes, woohoo, we're alive now, guys, because it ain't working that way. Because you and I both wore masks, and
all I know is we have 300,000 people that died that they put on their certificate possible or coronavirus, but they're not even talking about the flu anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
I haven't heard of a flu death.
And we really never talked about what's the cost that the hospital gets for one either.
$70,000.
$70,000. Can you believe that? So anyway, this year's been interesting, and then we got to highlight this date of all days. The most important date was July 28th. We released our first podcast.
Number one at that time.
Yes.
We didn't know what we're doing at all. We still don't.
We still don't.
We just enjoy it.
But we released our first podcast, and then between that time and November 3rd, we had election, and we had some surprises. We had some podcasts going on there.
Okay, let's do something real quick.
Yep.
Between that time and the election, what is just one thing about the election that you remember, or the pre-election?
The pre-election?
Something that went, I'll give you first. Go ahead.
That you could not get Biden to come out publicly and talk,
right.
Ever.
Second is, after the first debate, the yell and scream match, the second one was canceled.
Yep.
You know that Abraham Lincoln, I believe it was Abraham Lincoln and the guy he was running against, I can't remember the exact time, that they had 7 and they were hour and a half each.
They were long too.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. So, the thing I remember is Biden would not speak. He was the one that cannot be heard.
Another one is Biden would have 6 or 8 people out at a rally and Trump would have 25,000.
Yep.
But it was just because Biden's people they're home filling out those voter cards. They didn't want to get the coronavirus.
And the other thing I remember is the media, being the American media it is, Joe Biden. Well, what did you have for breakfast today? President Trump, how many people have you killed today?
Yeah.
I mean, it was
about as one-sided as I've ever seen was this election. And I can't believe I'm saying that, but 90% of what you hear on the news, read on the newspaper, see online, or any cable was negative towards Trump and positive towards anybody but Trump.
Well, so I was going to do a Friday's Thought to Ponder on this, and I'll explain it. On December 14th was the day we released the corona vaccine. So it's the day it goes into effect. I pull up CNN because I'm on the road, and I pull up CNN during this time. As I pull up CNN, I look at the first 5 top stories. So you have a top story and you have some sub-stories. You have a top story and you have sub-stories. Pull up first 5. None of them talked about and this was at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. None of them talked about the distribution of the corona vaccine. None of them. The first top story was GOP lawmaker turns to become a Democrat and is mad at Trump and the leaders. Okay, is that news? That on any news agency, regardless of Democrat or Republican, which side it flips, that's probably a number 10, 12. I'm just throwing it out there.
Well, number one should have been
The
vaccine,
coronavirus.
no doubt.
Yeah. The other thing that should have been there was they voted on the to endorse the state elections. You know, the outcome. They certified it. Congress did.
Yeah.
That was number 4.
That's
So you know, first we have bashing and hating, and then then the other thing was once you get it did have articles that says once you get the corona vaccine, that you need to wear a mask and you need to worry about this and this and this. That's fear mongering, so the media can hold on to you.
Yeah.
So we saw that at its best. The one thing that that is evident of, besides the obvious negative things of corona and things of that nature, is the people that profess journalism are lacking.
Yeah.
And maybe they got that free college shit going on.
It could have been.
But they're lacking tremendously. They're lacking objectivity, they're lacking honesty, and they're lacking just letting the people say, oh, well, maybe it's this or this. So
Yeah.
instead of giving
Well,
an opinion.
2020 to me will be remembered for one thing for sure is, and I never would have thought this in the most freest country in the world, that we believed in liberty and justice and all these great things, but we pretty much just gave up our liberty and freedom with no fight, did what they just told us to do. We shut down our
Yeah.
own businesses. We
Yep.
just because of something that has a chance to kill you that's less than 1%. Are you kidding me?
We believe in freedom of speech and justice and all that, as long as your freedom of speech agrees with my speech.
Exactly.
It can't be that you
We
and
did a
I
hate
just-
speech on
Yeah,
that. I mean,
yeah.
it's the truth. It's just because someone says something or something happens and it offends them, now that's become hate speech. You got to agree with me or you hate me. You have
Yeah.
to agree with me or you're a racist or whatever.
I agree.
This was the year of that.
That is exactly what's going on. I had somebody say, if you don't believe in wearing masks, then I have nothing for you, da-da-da-da, and da-da-da. And I'm like, I know some people who do not believe in those things that are very intellectual people, who are
Right.
very smart. So I think this is kind of a roundabout wash up on 2020.
2020,
But-
a crazy year.
It's crazy and chaotic is what I'll say is what it is. So
2021 is almost here.
it's almost here. So
Don't
from the
even sound
coach,
right. And from the vet.
stay tuned, stay tuned, stay tuned.